Evan Hale was sitting alone in his small apartment when the light appeared. It was not bright like a lamp and not warm like sunlight. It was cold, soft, and shaped like a doorway. Before he could stand, the air around him bent, and a strange pull wrapped around his body. In the next moment, the floor under him was gone. He landed on smooth metal. The air smelled clean, almost too clean. Evan looked up and froze. Tall figures stood in front of him. Thin bodies, long arms, and silver-blue skin that shimmered like moonlight. Their eyes were wide and clear, like mirrors that showed no emotion. One of them stepped forward. "Human Evan Hale," she said in a calm and distant voice. "You've been summoned." Evan's heart raced, but he tried to stay steady. "Summoned? By who?" "The Arelthi High Council," she answered. "Our people are dying. You are the human chosen to save us." Evan blinked. "You brought me here to save you?" He had no idea what that meant, and the aliens did not seem interested in giving comfort or explanation. The woman turned and signaled him to follow. Evan walked down a long hallway with glowing walls and floating panels. Everything felt unreal, like he had stepped into a dream he could not control. The ship vibrated softly under his feet, humming with a low sound that made the air feel alive. They entered a large room shaped like an open flower. The ceiling changed colors slowly, shifting from blue to white like a breathing sky. In the center were 3 alien figures wearing dark robes. Their faces were older, their skin dimmer, their eyes deep and tired. One of them spoke with a firm, ceremonial tone. "Evan Hale of Earth, we welcome you. The Arelthi species is fading. Our numbers fall every year. Our bodies weaken. Our world grows silent. We searched across many worlds for someone who could help. You are the one chosen." Evan took a slow breath. "Chosen for what? I'm a biologist, not a hero." The 3 elders looked at each other. Then the middle one said, "You are chosen to restore our future. You will help us repopulate our species." Evan felt his stomach twist. He knew what they meant, and he did not like it, but he stayed calm. "You need someone to repair your population, and you think I can do that? Why me?" "Your genetic resilience is unmatched," another elder said. "Your body shows resistance to many conditions that destroy ours. You are a rare compatibility. We believe your presence would ensure our survival." Evan shook his head slowly. "You brought me here without asking. You expect me to follow your plan, but you don't even know if I agree." The elders looked confused. One asked, "Why would you refuse?" "This is our only hope." The tall woman who guided him spoke softly. "Elders, humans value choice." The elders fell silent for a moment. Their expressions did not change, but something tense passed through the room. Evan tried to focus. Fear would not help him. Anger would not help him. Understanding might. "Tell me more," he said. "Why is your species dying? What is happening to your people?" The elders lowered their heads. "Our bodies weaken with each generation. Our children are few. Our land is failing. Our sky is poisoned. Our world breaks faster each year. We have tried everything. Our oldest traditions say that help will come from another species. A single outsider. You." They spoke with certainty, but Evan noticed something strange. They believed their traditions more than they believed their own science. And he wondered if anyone here had ever questioned the old beliefs. "I need to see your records," he said softly. "Medical reports, environmental data, history. If you want my help, I need to understand the real problem." One elder frowned. "We summoned you for the purpose of restoring our population, not for analysis." Evan replied calmly, "If I don't understand the cause of your extinction, then nothing I do will help. You don't need a tradition. You need answers." The room went quiet. The elders were not used to being challenged. Their world had followed the same rules for centuries. But they were desperate, and desperation made them listen. At last, the middle elder spoke. "Very well. You will see our data. But know this, our time grows short." Evan nodded. His fear slowly shifted into determination. He had been dragged into the middle of an alien crisis, but he could feel something important hidden beneath their words. Something they had missed. Something he might find. The tall woman guided him out of the chamber again. As they walked, she said quietly, "You are different from what we expected." Evan gave a small, tired smile. "You're different from what I expected, too." She tilted her head, studying him with those clear, mirror-like eyes. "Then, perhaps we will find a new answer together." As they continued down the glowing hallway, Evan felt the first spark of hope, not just for the Arelthi, but for himself. He did not know where this path would lead, but he knew one thing for sure. He would not follow their plan. He would make his own. Evan woke early the next morning in a room that felt too quiet. The walls glowed softly, giving the space a calm blue light. He had slept on a bed that shaped itself to his body, but sleep had not given him peace. His mind had been full of questions, worry, and ideas. He had come to one clear decision. He would not follow the Arelthi's plan. When the door slid open, the tall woman from before entered. Her name was Saris. She carried a small tablet of glowing symbols. "The council is expecting you," she said. Evan stood. "Good. I need to talk to them." Saris tilted her head. "You sound final." "I am," he said. They walked down the shining halls together, and Saris watched him with calm curiosity. "You showed no fear yesterday," she said. "Most with panic." "I was scared," Evan admitted. "But fear doesn't fix anything." Saris gave a slow nod. "Then perhaps we will understand each other better today." The council chamber doors opened. The three elders stood waiting. Their faces were unreadable, but their bodies held a quiet tension. Human Evan, the middle elder, said, "We hope you are ready to begin your role." Evan took a breath. "I need to be clear. I'm not doing what your tradition expects." The room became still. The elders' eyes narrowed slightly, though their expressions stayed calm. "You refuse our plan?" one elder asked. "Yes," Evan said, "completely." The elders' voices grew sharper. "Our species is dying. You are chosen. You must fulfill the role." Evan shook his head. "I'm not a tool you can summon and use. I won't help you repopulate your species like this. But I will still help you, just not the way your tradition says." The elders exchanged glances. Their robes shifted like ripples. They were confused, maybe even insulted. "Explain your refusal," the middle elder said slowly. Evan stepped forward. "Your problem isn't that you don't have enough children. The real problem is why your people can't survive. You showed me a small part of your history last night. The air quality in your world is dropping. Your soil is dying. Your people are losing strength because your environment is slowly killing you. Adding more children won't save you. It will only add more suffering." One elder whispered to another. They had known parts of this, but they had never looked at the whole picture. Tradition had been louder than logic. Another elder said, "Our ancestors left warnings. They said the world would weaken, but they also said an outsider would restore us." Evan crossed his arms. "Then maybe the outsider is not meant to give you children. Maybe the outsider is meant to give you answers." Sarah stepped forward quietly, standing beside him. "I believe he speaks truth," she said to the elders. "If we do not heal our world, nothing else matters." The elders looked troubled. Their eyes reflected conflict, old beliefs battling new logic. The youngest elder finally asked, "If not our way, if not the plan passed down, then what do you propose?" Evan felt the weight of the moment. His heart beat faster, but he held firm. "Let me examine all your records," he said. "Medical, environmental, historical. Let me study your world. I'm a biologist. I can look for solutions your traditions don't consider. You brought me here because my biology is different, but my mind is different too. Use that." There was a long silence. Evan could feel the tension in the air, thick like a storm forming. The elders were not used to being challenged. For generations, no one had spoken against the old plan. To refuse, it was almost unthinkable. Finally, the lead elder spoke with slow, heavy voice. "If we allow this, if we choose your path instead of our ancestors' path, we change everything." Evan nodded. "Good. Things need to change." The elders whispered among themselves, their voices low and sharp. Saris watched quietly, her eyes moving between them and Evan. After several minutes, the lead elder turned back. We will allow you access to our full history and data. But you must understand, if your methods fail, we will return to the old plan. Evan answered calmly, if my methods fail, we'll talk again, but I don't think they will. Sarah stepped beside him and bowed to the elders. I will assist him, she said. He will need help understanding our systems. The elders nodded slowly, but their uncertainty lingered in the air. As Evan and Saris walked out, she looked at him with something new in her eyes, respect. You stood against them without fear, she said softly. Many of our own people would never dare. I didn't stand against them, Evan said. I stood with reality. And you would risk everything for this? Yes, Evan said, because forcing someone into a role without choice is wrong, and because your people deserve a real solution. Saris looked forward again, her steps steady. Then let us begin with the truth. Evan followed her down the shining corridor, knowing that this was only the start. He had refused their plan, but now he had to prove there was another way, and he would. Evan spent the next days studying more than he ever had in his life. The Arelthi gave him access to everything: medical records, history logs, old scientific reports, and environmental studies that stretched back thousands of years. Their data was rich, but their understanding was stuck inside old beliefs. They had followed tradition so strictly that real research had slowly faded away. Sarah stayed by his side the entire time. She helped him understand symbols, explained their old ideas, and translated strange scientific words that did not exist on Earth. Most Arelthi who walked past the research hall stared at Evan with confusion, suspicion, or quiet hope. Why does he read so much? One whispered. He refuses the old plan. Another said, maybe he wants to escape. But Evan never stopped working. He slept only when he had to. He read until his eyes ached and his brain felt like it might melt. Finally, after 3 long days, he found the answer. It came from a small, almost forgotten file, an old soil report. The report was simple, barely a dozen lines. It tested minerals that the Arelthi needed for strength, growth, and health. Those minerals were disappearing from the ground faster than the world could replace them. Evan checked other files: food storage, crop reports, atmospheric changes. All of them showed the same pattern. The Arelthi weren't dying because of weak bodies. Their planet was starving. Saris looked at the data with wide eyes. We never saw the pattern. You saw pieces, Evan said, but nobody connected them. What does this mean? She asked. Evan took a deep breath. It means your soil is losing life. Your world is turning into something that can't support you anymore. Saris looked shaken. So, no matter how many children we have, they will grow weaker and weaker. Evan nodded. Yes, your old plan would not save you. It would only slow the end. Saris lowered her head. This truth is heavy. But now that we know the real cause, Evan said, we can fix it. Saris looked up sharply. You have a way? I have a plan, Evan said. A human solution. They took the findings to the council. The elders watched Evan with mixed feelings: uncertainty, fear, and a growing respect. Explain your answer, the lead elder said. Evan set the data on the glowing table. Your soil is dying, but this isn't impossible to fix. Humans faced the same problem on Earth a long time ago. We restored our lands using a mix of biology, chemistry, and engineering, and we can do the same here. How? Another elder asked. Evan pointed to the soil report. Your planet used to have tiny organisms in the ground, microlife that kept the soil alive. But something wiped them out over time. Without them, the soil can't feed your plants. Without plants, your food loses strength. Without strong food, your bodies weaken. The elders leaned closer. I propose we rebuild your soil. We create a new version of those tiny organisms. Maybe we modify them from Earth species. Maybe we create artificial ones. We add minerals back into the ground. We restore your farms. We clean the air. It won't be fast, but it will save you. The room went silent. No one laughed. No one shouted. No one argued. They just stared at the young human, who spoke with logic, confidence, and calm strength. At last, The eldest elder whispered, "You speak like someone who carries the future in his hands." Evan shook his head. "I don't carry your future. We carry it. Together." Sarah stepped forward. "I believe in his plan, and I will help him carry it out." Evan added, "But I need access to your labs, your machines, your engineers, and I need freedom to do things that may go against your traditions." The elders looked at one another. This request was enormous. It meant letting a human rewrite their world's future. It meant breaking rules older than their oldest families. It meant trusting someone who had refused their deepest belief. Finally, the lead elder spoke with slow, steady words. "You have earned more trust in a few days than some earn in a lifetime. Your mind sees what ours could not. If your solution succeeds, you will save us." Evan nodded. "I'll do everything I can. But," the elder added, raising a hand, "if your plan brings harm, even by accident, we will return to the old way." Evan accepted that. "Then let me make sure it never comes to that." Saris placed a hand gently on the table. "We begin at once." The elders bowed their heads. "So be it." Evan walked out of the chamber with Saris beside him. His heart felt lighter than before, but the weight of responsibility sat heavy on his shoulders. Saris looked at him, her eyes bright. "You gave us hope today." Evan smiled slightly. "Hope is a first step. Now we do the hard part." Saris nodded. "Then let us save a world." And together they walked toward the laboratories, ready to build a future that no one, human or Relfi, had ever imagined. Evan woke the next morning knowing there was no turning back. The Arelfi had given him full access to their labs, their machines, and their brightest minds. Now he had to prove that his plan could save their world. Failure was not just a mistake. It meant the end of an entire species. Sarah stayed close, guiding him to the massive laboratory tower. It was filled with glowing screens, humming devices, and scientists who had spent their whole lives following old traditions. Many of them looked uneasy seeing a human lead the project, but they listened because the council had ordered them to. Evan stood before them and spoke in simple, clear words. "We have one mission: rebuild your soil. If we do not move fast, the collapse will reach every valley on this planet." Some of the scientists exchanged worried looks. "Our soil is already failing in the east," one said. "Crops are turning to dust." "Then we start there." Evan said, "We fix the worst areas first." The next days became a battle, not with weapons, but with time, exhaustion, and fear. Evan worked side by side with the Arelfi scientists, teaching them how to grow microlife from earth samples, how to replicate missing minerals, and how to design small machines that could work under the ground. They were slow at first, confused by his different style of thinking, but they learned quickly. Saris watched everything with silent admiration. She never left his side, always ready to translate, explain, or help. When the first batch of new soil organisms was ready, they took them to the dying eastern farms. The ground there was gray, cracked, and silent. Plants tried to grow but fell limp within days. The air felt thin and weak, as if the land was giving up. The elder farmer stood nearby, watching Evan with deep worry. "We have worked this land for hundreds of years," one said softly. "If this fails, nothing will grow again." Evan knelt and spread the tiny organisms into the soil. They looked like ordinary powder, but he knew they were alive, built to bring the land back to life. "We need patience," Evan said. "This will not fix everything in one day, but it will start a chain reaction." The farmers nodded, trusting him because they had no choice left. Days passed. Every morning, Evan and Saris checked the soil. Every evening, they tested samples. And slowly, very slowly, the gray cracks began to darken. The air grew thicker. Small patches of green started to appear. The farmers gasped in awe. "The land is breathing again." But just when hope started to grow, a new problem struck. One of the old Arelfi scientists, a strict traditionalist, refused to accept Evan's methods. He believed the human was destroying their sacred ways. As the soil grew stronger, his fear grew stronger too. He gathered supporters who believed their world should be saved by tradition, not by a human. One night, they broke into the laboratory and smashed several machines. They destroyed samples, pulled out wires, and weakened the system that controlled the spread of the soil organisms. Ceres found the damage first. When she saw the broken equipment, her voice shook. They did this on purpose. They fear your ideas. Evan stared at the wreckage in silence. He felt anger rise, but he pushed it down. Anger would only slow him down now. We can fix it, he said. But then alarms echoed through the lab. One of the scientists rushed in. The soil in the east. It's slowing again. The collapse is returning. Evan took a deep breath, steady and determined. Then we fight harder. He gathered every worker he could. They repaired the machines through the night, rewired circuits, rebuilt samples, and created new batches of soil organisms. Ceres worked beside him, refusing to rest. Her hands shook with exhaustion, but her voice stayed strong. By dawn, they loaded the new organisms and rushed back to the farms. The ground was fading again, but not as badly as before. Evan spread the new mixture deeper into the soil, using machines that pushed it into the cracks. The farmers joined in, working with desperate speed. Hours passed. Sweat covered Evan's face. The air was hot and dry, and dust stuck to his hands. But he didn't stop for a moment. Ceres watched him with amazement. "You fight like someone defending his own home," she whispered. Evan smiled weakly. "This world depends on us. I won't let it fall." As the sun set, the ground finally began to stabilize again. The green patches returned. The air grew stronger. The collapse stopped spreading. Everyone exhaled in relief. One of the farmers bowed deeply. "Human, you saved our land twice in 1 week." Evan shook his head. "We saved it together." But Ceres knew the truth. Without Evan, the land would be dust. Without him, their species would already be dying. She stepped closer, her voice soft. "You gave us a fighting chance." Evan looked out at the recovering fields. "Then we keep fighting, until every valley, every farm, every mountain is alive again." And with that, the battle against the collapse truly began. Not a war of weapons, but a war of endurance, science, and hope. A war a human had chosen to fight for a world that was not even his own. The recovery of the Eastern Valley changed everything. News spread quickly across the planet. For the first time in many generations, the Arelthi saw green fields returning, crops standing tall, and air that smelled fresh instead of dry and dying. Many had believed their world was already lost, but now hope began to rise again. Hope carried by one human who refused to give up. Evan became known across the planet, not as a chosen breeder, but as a human who saved their soil. Everywhere he went, people greeted him with respect and quiet gratitude. Some bowed, some touched the ground in front of him, and some simply stared with wide and thankful eyes. It made him uncomfortable, but Ceres always smiled proudly. "You earned this," she told him. He only answered, "We earned it." Together, they worked for months. Evan trained young Arelthi scientists, teaching them how to repair land faster and more safely. He helped design new machines meant to spread healthy soil organisms across entire continents. He even helped rewrite parts of their farming traditions, merging earth science with Arelthi wisdom. And at last, the council declared that the collapse had officially stopped. Plants were returning. Water was cleaner. Families were smiling again. The Arelthi would live. But the victory brought something bigger than healing land. It brought a new question. What future should the Arelthi and humans build together? The council called for a great gathering to decide. Leaders from all regions came. Scientists, farmers, elders, and even children attended. And at the center of the gathering stood Evan and Ceres, side by side. The council leader addressed the crowd in a strong voice. "For thousands of years, we guarded our traditions so tightly that we became blind in new paths. Today, because of one human, our world has a future. It is time to choose the future we want." Many speakers stepped forward. Some asked for more cooperation with humans. Some wanted to study the new soil technology further. Some wanted Evan to stay permanently and guide them. One elder spoke softly but clearly. "This human did not come to rule us. He did not come to shape us in his image. He came to help us stand again. That is true friendship." When it was Evan's turn to speak, he looked around the huge hall. Thousands of Arelthi watched him, waiting. He took a breath and kept his words simple. Your world didn't need a hero. It needed partners. And that is what humanity should be. Partners, not masters. Friends, not owners. We don't want to control you. We want to grow with you. The hall fell silent for a long moment. Then a wave of approval spread through the crowd. Hands rose in agreement. Tails flicked in excitement. Voices echoed in unity. It was decided. A new alliance would begin, one built on cooperation, shared knowledge, and equal respect. Sarah stepped beside Evan after the meeting. Her eyes glowed softly. You change our destiny, she said. Evan shook his head. You change it with me. Over the next months, the alliance deepened. Human scientists arrived to help rebuild more land. Arelthi scholars traveled to Earth to learn new skills. Together, they built laboratories, farms, and teaching centers that served both species. The worlds grew close, like two neighbors living with open doors. But there was one more moment that defined the future. A statue was built in the Eastern Valley, the valley that had nearly died. It did not show Evan standing tall or acting like a savior. It showed him kneeling in the soil, just as he had the first day he started the fight. Beside him, the sculptors added Ceres, holding a basket of seeds. It was a symbol that both species saved the world together. When the statue was revealed, Evan felt embarrassed, but Ceres laughed gently. This is not about glory, she said. It is a reminder, to us, to future generations, that hope grows when two hearts from different worlds work as one. Evan finally smiled. Then it's perfect. As the sun set behind the valley, families gathered around the statue. Children played among the growing fields. Wind carried the scent of fresh grass across the land. The world was alive again. Evan stood quietly beside Ceres, watching the sky glow gold. You know, she said softly, when you first arrived, we thought you were our last chance to survive. But now you're the bridge between our species. Evan looked at the recovering plains, at the people celebrating, at the bright future unfolding. No, he said gently, we're the bridge, all of us. And so a new future began, not just for one dying species, but for two species who learned that the strongest path forward was one they walked together, not through fear, not through old traditions, but through hope, courage, and a human who chose a better plan.